Okay, hello. This is my video on Prototype Pantheon Mythic. So in this boss I played Necrolord Frost, played it with Slick Ice and Splitting Ice. I think it's probably the best spec of this boss even after some of the changes. I think there are a couple of situations where Kyrian Archaean might pull ahead in the last phase, but honestly the first two phases are relevant enough, especially after the change where the boss is phased at 40% now instead of 50. I think that, you know, the first two phases aren't irrelevant, even if the last phase is still the most important. Recommendation is honestly just don't play fire on this boss. So I guess the first tip I'll give is hit the boss that stands still on pull, because if you don't, your Comet Storm will miss, like you see with me here. The biggest change for the boss on Mythic is that the Ritualists and the Seeds have shields that reduce their damage and healing taken by 50%, and the shield is removed by the Night Hunter mechanic. It's very similar to the Castle Nathir mechanic. It's a line with a damage split. You can't soak more than one, and it deals AoE in a little area around the target whenever it ends, so don't stand right on top of them. So you just have one person go to each of the Ritualists and Seeds. One thing to note is killing the far Ritualists as a mage is super inefficient. I would say only DPS them if you absolutely have to, like if you don't have enough Warlocks and Boomkins. The ranged adds, you also want them to die last, because that means that range don't get stuck on the other side of the green puddle. So current Necrolord Frost, for people that may be new to it, you do spend a lot of time in Deathborn on multiple targets, just spamming Frostbolt in your AoE spells. Like similar versions of no Ice Lance before, I think the best use of Ice Lance, honestly, is probably like just if you have to move. There are a couple of situations where, you know, Ice Lance is a DPS gain, but I would honestly just hold the procs for when you have to move. So in this phase, you do want to smack Duty more than War. This is because the two bosses you fight in phase 2 have more HP than the two you fight in phase 1. And because Duty flies away, War ends up functionally having the least HP out of the 4 bosses, so it does make damage coordination in the last phase a little bit easier if you transition with him on more HP. We don't kill this last set of ads. We don't need to. So you don't need to move with that Night Hunter mechanic. Just make sure you're not overlapping, and just make sure you have enough people to soak. If you are struggling to find people to soak with the Night Hunter mechanic, you can always go to melee. It's good. Your melee will be behind the boss, and your tanks will be in front of the boss. So you'll always have somewhere you can go with a Night Hunter mechanic if you can't get someone to soak. So we do play that Dispel after the boss phases. The reason for that is just because we don't need to play it before. Being able to ignore that Dispel and ignore the Ritualists gives you a lot of boss damage. You don't DPS the Ritualists, and then you just play the Dispels after the phase ends. So phase 2, again, hit the boss that stays still. On this first set of seeds, we actually miss one of the seeds on this kill. Our Demon Hunter dies and we miss it, but we do have 5 healers. I think 5 healing this boss is so much easier than 4 healing it. I think 4 healing it's a massive mistake especially after the changes for the boss transitions. So same mechanics as Heroic. Other than that, you'll have your animals walking across the room with the Stampede. You'll have the Silence Tornadoes spawning. So as more of these Stampedes start to spawn, the room will start to get sort of split into like pizza slices almost. Try and stay in the same one as the melee and the tanks. It does make dodging these tornadoes a bit rough sometimes. Like you'll get hit occasionally and silenced for a split second. But staying in the same pizza slice means you don't need to dodge the Stampedes. Healing is super easy. This fight can be tough on healing, especially during progress. I do hold Deathborn, you see here. That's not the play for overall damage. You'll see maybe top logs or using Deathborn here. But I just wanted to end phase 3 as fast as possible, and that is my recommendation for progress. So the most important mechanic during any phase with Absolution is the Hand of Destruction. So he'll pull you in, you blink away, and then you shoot 4 little circles out. These are the absolute most important mechanic for DPS to dodge in this fight. If you get hit by these, you get another stack of the permanent dot that you have during this phase, and it hurts a lot. I already said healing's tough. How you want to position it is you want to angle it so that the circles will shoot out not in the direction of your teammates, so everyone's will be shooting out in the same direction. So just line them up so that you don't need to dodge. And yeah, after that mechanic's done, get back into the same pizza slice as your team. It just helps with healing. You do want to push these two at the same time. If you have to push one early, make sure it's Absolution. The reason for that is that you will kill Absolution first in the last phase. And again, we only break 1 seed here. Because it's all we need. My movement was a little bit awkward there. The reason for that is I didn't have a range to back me up. And like I said earlier, tanks are good if you need a backup. So same again, I press Icy Veins twice in phase 1, I hold it. Then I press Icy Veins twice in phase 2, I hold it. Here, you can see Icy Veins is up, Deathborn's up, and we're about to lust. This is before the change, so the bosses are at 50%, so this phase should be a little bit easier now. Another tip is if you see a boss just free casting not in melee, just insta-kick it even if you're not assigned. You can see Deathborn, Lust, Icy Veins, all that good shit. One tip for the lines, if it's not obvious, you can see what I did there is I was soaking the line on the far right, but I was soaking it from standing in the middle of the room. You don't need to go to the person to soak it. You can just soak it from anywhere, which does give you a lot of potential to min-max damage in this phase or the other phases if you need it. You can just soak those lines from the middle of the room. You can also ice block to soak 2, and you can ice block to remove your soak debuff, which can be quite handy if you're struggling with that soak mechanic. In this phase, you want to focus Absolution. You don't want to push him really early, but what you want to do is you want to kill him before he casts Hand of Destruction a second time. And then you use that 20-second window to then kill the other 3. So yeah, not a huge amount. This phase, there's nothing new, just same mechanics. It's basically phase 1 and phase 2, but happening at the same time. So yeah, you can see that they've moved the boss in another pizza slice. I should probably follow them. Yeah, that's basically it, really. On this set of lines, you don't have to play all of them. I think we try to hit as many as we can, but we're not going to use all 4. So yeah, I have the debuff, so I don't soak. So this is the Hand of Destruction. So this is a much better example of how to play this mechanic. So you can see whenever we blink out, we line up so that the points are not pointing at other players, like all the range on the left. So that whenever these lines come out, like I didn't have to dodge any of the people standing beside me. Still have to dodge the ones coming from melee. I did try alter timing this mechanic. I find that whenever I went out early, I was really struggling with the healing. If you can get out, if you feel fine with the healing, or if you have another defensive up, you can go out, alter time, Hand of Destruction comes out, and then you alter time back out, and that's quite a nice way to deal with that mechanic. But yeah, our healing was sketchy enough that I didn't do it on progress. So you can see here what I was talking about on why it's nice to push War with more HP. Despite the fact that we did that, War is on half the health that Judy's on. So yeah, that it can make management of health a little easier if you push Judy with lower health. So you can see we've got Hand of Destruction in 15 seconds, so that's our timer to kill Absolution. You absolutely do not want that hand to go off. This last set of Night Hunters we don't need to play. So hand in 5 seconds, we'll kill Absolution now. You can ice block, like I said earlier. I accidentally double tap here and our poor Warlock bites the dust because of it, but whatever. He's a Warlock, he should have lived. So we kill Absolution, that's our timer. We now have 20 seconds to kill the other bosses. If you've been... You have quite a lot of time to do it. It's not too tight. But yeah, that's this boss. I'm pretty... It was an okay boss. I was pretty happy with Necrolord Frost on it. I think it's the play. I did quite a lot of damage on this pull, but realistically, I don't think any of the mage specs are really good on this fight. I think couple of the melee specs and Warlock and Boomkin are good, but I think Necrolord Frost is competitive enough. It's definitely what I'd recommend. Yeah, so if you like this, check out my other boss videos. This is focused on progress. I'm not here to help people parse. I don't know, go look at top logs for that. But yeah, this is focused on progress. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, all that shit. And yeah, see you in another video.